Hello YouTube, my name's Nero and today we have some Call of Duty World at War. This is my favorite Call of Duty game of all time. Unfortunately, I don't know where my console version is, so I'm actually forced to play on the PC to get footage for this video, so kind of forgive that because my aim is terrible because I'm awful at competitive shooters on PC. A lot of people are like, Nero, why don't you go play Counter-Strike with us? And it's like, because I would be terrible. I'm not good, I'm flinchy on the keyboard and mouse when it comes to like competitive shooter games, whereas if it's like a co-op kind of game where it's more relaxed, I'm actually pretty good and I'm pretty competent. But when it comes to like twitchy stuff, man, you'll be seeing throughout the gameplay, my mouth just kind of goes crazy. Today we're going to be talking about Black Ops 3. Black Ops 3 and the possibility of Black Ops 3 actually being featured within World War II. A lot of you guys apparently want the next Call of Duty game to actually be a World War II game. The top comment from the last video I made talking about Black Ops 3 was in fact saying that World War II should be the next Call of Duty game, and there were a lot of other comments on the video that kind of said the exact same thing. I want to come out here and make this video to kind of say that it's not entirely impossible for Black Ops 3 to actually feature World War II. It seems unlikely, right? Because the Black Ops games have always been set in Vietnam, Cold War, and in the future. It'd be kind of weird to go back to World War II while still calling it Black Ops 3 rather than calling it World at War II. I understand that, and I can see why people would be confused by that. Now, let's run with this. Let's just say hypothetically it is Black Ops 3, because once again, even though I made that video yesterday and Super Data kind of put that in their article and the people are kind of seeing that as if it were a leak, it's still not 110% confirmed that Black Ops 3 is in fact going to be the next Call of Duty game. But still, this is the entire possibility of the next Treyarch game in fact actually being part of World War II. So what is a Black Op? A Black Op's basically a covert op. What's a covert op? It's basically kind of like a hidden operation, kind of stealthy stuff like that, off the books. You don't want any names, no witnesses, you know, that kind of thing. Basically, it's about sneaky missions. That's what the Black Ops series is kind of about. Now, what they've always kind of done pretty well is they've always made it so they can take actual historical events and kind of tie it into their storyline via fictional characters. Now, if you guys don't know, World at War, which was the last World War II game done by Call of Duty, Black Ops, as well as Black Ops 2, are all part of the same story. Characters that we see in World at War, we continue to see in Black Ops 2, or at least partially see them in Black Ops 2. It's all part of the same story arc, and it's a very, very long story. I actually did a lot of research for this video, and in World at War, the very first mission was set in 1942, and the very last mission in Black Ops 2 was actually set in 2025. Therefore, there are 83 years worth of this story that they put together there. This story spans 83 years, this entire Treyarch trilogy that we've been experiencing over the past couple years, which is pretty crazy to me that it actually went along that long. A lot of people have been pointing out that the next Treyarch game, if they continue along this same storyline, cannot possibly move forward in the future, which I can see why people would definitely say that. If you think back to Black Ops 2, there was actually, if you didn't know, 6 different endings that you could get in that game based upon different decisions that you made throughout the campaign. So you could have 6 different people all buy Black Ops 2 and all finish the campaign, and there's a possibility that every single one of them saw a different ending. And so for them to continue the Black Ops series and go past, like, even further into the future, it would be really hard for them to do that, because they would have to come out and say, well, this one particular ending, whether or not you got this particular ending, this one particular ending was the quote-unquote right ending, and we're going to continue our story based upon that ending. That doesn't really work out that well, but what they could do is go back into the past. What they could do is go do a prequel kind of thing where we get to see more events and other things that are actually happening within this universe, be it in the Cold War, be it in Vietnam, and especially be it back during World War II. It is entirely possible that the next Call of Duty game can be a World War II game. So the last World War II game we've had in the Call of Duty franchise was World at War. It was released by Treyarch back in 2008, and it had 2 separate campaigns in it. There was an American campaign and a Russian campaign. The American campaign started us off on Makin Atoll, then we moved us to Peleliu Island, and then it took us to Okinawa. Alright, there's only 3 real different areas you went to. It doesn't seem that way, right? When you're playing through the campaign, you're playing through the different maps of the multiplayer. It doesn't seem like that, but there really wasn't a lot of places we actually went within the American campaign. There was basically 3 different islands is where we were at. The Russian campaign starts us off with 1 mission in Stalingrad. That's our only mission there. From there, we move on over to Seagull Heights, and then we move to Berlin. Those are only locations we actually got to see in the World at War campaign, which means we really didn't get to see a whole lot of things. If you know anything about World War II, there's a lot more to that war than just the battles that we saw in Call of Duty World at War. For example, D-Day, one of the most iconic things about World War II altogether, D-Day was not covered at all. Pearl Harbor was not covered. Hiroshima, Nagasaki, the Holocaust, Hitler himself is barely mentioned. if at all, in the Call of Duty franchise and has never been seen. Since this Treyarch timeline, I'm just going to call it like the Treyarch timeline, since this Treyarch timeline isn't exactly lined up with like the real world's timeline, what if in this new game, this Black Ops 3 we'll call it, we're sent on a mission to assassinate Hitler and we actually succeed? That's entirely possible. It's completely possible within the context of the story and in the context of the game, because they never once mention Hitler in World at War, Black Ops, or Black Ops 2, and in fact, Hitler himself actually committed suicide on April 30th, 1945, so he had to die anyway, right? He's gonna die anyway, either just by suicide and us not mentioning him, or by us building an entire game around killing him. Right? It's entirely possible. It'd be weird to see a Call of Duty game that would feature a lot of things about Hitler and a lot of things about the Holocaust, but it's entirely possible they could go down that road. As the generations get older, as the years go by, games are getting a little bit more edgy, and Hitler is kind of becoming a thing that we may actually feature within a Call of Duty game. The Holocaust, which is one of the most touchy subjects in the history of the world, could in fact be the entire basis of a game. I'm just saying it's entirely possible. Aside from Hitler and the Holocaust and all the giant battles of World War II that we did not get to see within Call of Duty World at War, that could be possible plot points within this Black Ops 3, there's also just not talk of a lot of the different countries within the game. Yeah, remember in Black Ops we were going down to Cuba and they were actually involving a bunch of different countries within the game. World War II had quite a few countries that weren't really mentioned at all in World at War. Like, for example, we have the British, we have the French, we have the Hungarians, the Romanians, Bulgaria, we have Australia, Brazil, Canada, China. I actually, yes, did look up all these people that were in World War II. There are a bunch of people in World War II that are part of both the Axis and the Allied forces that just really aren't mentioned within World at War. There is a ton of different things they could possibly do with Black Ops 3, and that's the beauty of it. It's something Treyarch's always kind of done. They take actual historical events to lesser or more extents, and they add different characters to it, right? They add these fictional characters as kind of like side things. Like, for example, in the Mission Vendetta back in World at War, this was one of those iconic missions in Call of Duty history, in my opinion. It starts off kind of like as a homage to Enemy at the Gate, where you're kind of sitting there in Stalingrad and you're in the fountain and you have to start sniping out a lot of people. The whole point of that mission is we're going through the Battle of Stalingrad, but the exact same time, the entire time we're doing it, we're going to assassinate a Nazi general named Heinrich Amsel. Right? The entire point of it is we're going to assassinate this guy who's not a real person in real life. He's a person they made up within the game. But while we're doing that, while we're going after this fake person that we made up for the sake of the story, we're actually getting to experience a little bit of something that did happen, which was the Battle of Stalingrad. You see what I'm doing? You see what I'm saying right here? You see how this is working? That's what Treyarch's always been really good at in terms of their campaigns and in terms of their multiplayer. That's what I always thought was really cool about them, how they take fictional characters and they put them in these real world situations, and then we get to kind of learn a little bit about history or experience a little bit of history while at the same time experiencing a story that Treyarch can do whatever they want with. That's the cool part about it. And not just World War II. World War II is just kind of like the tip of the iceberg, I suppose, in terms of possibilities for this Black Ops 3. I just talked about all these different possible things they could possibly do within a World War II setting for the next Treyarch game. At the exact same time, all of that stuff applies with Vietnam. It applies with the Cold War. It applies with everything. Basically anything from 1942 all the way to 2025, we can see anything happen if they were to continue this story but do it in kind of a past tense, a kind of prequel style. They can definitely go ahead and do it that way, right? It's entirely possible. I want to make this video just saying there's a lot of possibilities for this next Treyarch game. If it is in fact Black Ops 3, there is a lot of things they could do with it. It's also entirely possible that now that they put out Black Ops 2 and now they put out the endings, which there were 6 different endings, so chances are they're not going to be able to continue on with that story. They'd have to go back in the past, like I've been saying. It's entirely possible that they're also done with the Black Ops series and they're going to be moving on to an entirely new IP, the same way that the Infinity Ward staff, they had Call of Duty 4, they had Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3. That was basically their trilogy. After that, they stopped working in that context within that universe and they started working on the Call of Duty Ghost universe. It's entirely possible now that the trilogy is finished, now that it kind of feels complete after the ending of Black Ops 2 with the entire trilogy of World at War, Black Ops, and Black Ops 2, that Treyarch is done with that series and they may be moving on to an entirely new intellectual property and trying out an entire new story arc. That is also completely possible. So keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. I am just here to kind of throw around ideas. That's what I'm doing here with this video, and I kind of want to gauge your guys' reactions to that in the comment section below, as well as hear your ideas for possible settings that the next Call of Duty game is going to be set in. So hope you guys all enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys all found it insightful and informative, and if you did, please be sure to leave a rating where you guys feel the video deserves. Hope you guys all Have a wonderful day.